right, I see a few people are calling in from phone. If you can rename yourselves your name, that would be ideal for the meeting so that Angela can keep track of who's here. So in order to do that, it's very simple. All you want to do is hover over your own box. A little square with 3 dots will pop up in the top right-hand corner. If you go ahead and click that, a menu comes up and you can click on rename and you can rename yourself. If you are in on the video, but you're not using your computer speakers and you're calling in, you will have 2 squares, and in that case, don't worry about it. All right, Ange, you getting that? It looks like Julie can't get on.
Let's see.
I'm not sure why, but.
Hey, Ryan, it's
I didn't
Jill.
get there.
Hey, Jill.
I know Safari has been difficult. I just wrote her and told her try to log in through Chrome. Maybe that would help. For some
Yeah.
reason, it doesn't work through Safari for me, so I just emailed her directly that suggestion. Maybe
Good,
that'll help.
good. Yeah, I think, you know, Safari gives you trouble. I think if you try to get in through a VPN connection, that'll give you trouble as well. It seems like, I mean, I don't know about everybody here, but it seems like people have really latched on to Zoom especially, and they're making it all work. I don't have too many issues now. This past week has been a successful week full of Zoom meetings. Everybody
Except
seen
for the
same?
hacking that's going on, which is a little
Right.
bit of a concern, but
Yeah.
if it's helpful, Risco's using Google Hangouts, but you know, Zoom seems to be great for this group as long
Yeah.
as we don't have any hacking issues.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I heard about that this morning. So it's really happening, huh? You know, people that's happened to?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've heard of two types of hacking now. Ange, the one you were talking about earlier,
Right.
one which is everybody's just hacking in for fun and doing silly things on these Zoom meetings, or possibly inappropriate things on the Zoom meetings. The other thing is people are using the Zoom app since it kind of operates somewhat like malware. They're using the Zoom app to get into people's computers and then capture all of their data. So that's actually the concerning part of the Zoom application. Jill, that's probably also what you're talking about.
Yeah. So obviously that's a little concerning.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. Yeah. So, and I think so. If we've all not to get too far into the IT thing. So when we open up a Zoom app, we don't have to give it permissions to do what it does, and that's how it operates as malware. So it just will make changes to your PC without you giving it the permission to do so. If you've tried Skype, you notice that Skype doesn't work that way. It asks for permissions, and sometimes if your computer is a company computer, your IT administrator will probably block that installation. So Skype, sometimes people have trouble with, but it's far more secure. So that's the problem with Zoom. We can talk about that on another call as to what everybody's thoughts are about that issue. I did hear, though, with Zoom, in order for that to take place, the hacker does have to install the Zoom or run Zoom on your PC physically. Is that something you've heard too, Jill?
I can't tell you that I've spent too much time. I just know I was talking to the Risco team and I asked my digital side, hey, how come I'm having trouble with Safari? And then our digital director said, you might want to suggest, like, it's, you know, there are some issues. So I don't want to give false information. I just think if it's working, great, but we just need to be cognizant. And if we want to maybe try something else that may be a little more secure, God forbid, we all have enough problems right now, right, Ryan?
Right. Last thing we want to do is catch a virtual virus.
Yeah, I don't want to spread misinformation, but I do know that there have been some articles lately, and this was suggested to bring it up to the group. So
Does anyone know if Ring Central is a part of Zoom? That's what we're using at the New Jersey Builders Association, which looks exactly like this, but they're staying away from Zoom, so I wasn't sure if Ring Central was something similar.
Yeah, I don't know.
That
So,
I don't
you
know. We could certainly ask my team and Deb. I know Deb is with us, Deb Rizzi. Just in terms of Google Hangouts, because Risco took a lot of time to figure out which platform we were going to use. I would say, Deb, if you have any thoughts on this, feel free, chime into our conversation.
I was just wondering. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so I think that this is I mean, Ange, as you can tell, this is kind of writing itself for the next meetup. Let's yeah, let's make this the topic for next time. I didn't even think to make it a topic for business partners, but I mean, look, it's a real concern. We're all using all sorts of things from like Google Hangout and FaceTime and Zoom and GoToMeeting and Skype and all of the above. So it makes sense for us to be on the cutting edge of that. And we are kind of watching it from a coverage standpoint, because as you know, data is what would be taken, and there's policies that cover that kind of thing. So let's talk about that. Kim, maybe you can even do some research and get back to us as to what you're seeing as well. So we'll do that at the next meetup. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so for today, I think pretty much we got what we got logging in. So today's agenda, first things first, let's make sure that if we are on the call that the name on our little box is our actual name. In order to make sure that that's the case, just hover over your box, click on the 3 little dots in the top right-hand corner. The menu will bring up a rename option. Go ahead and rename to your actual name. That way Angela can keep track of who's on the call. The other thing is too, I'm gonna try to mute everybody. If you want to unmute yourself and say something, that's completely fine. I just mute everybody in order to keep any background noise down. A lot of times people don't realize there's background noise filtering through. So, so just in case you're muted, understand that that's just a mute all button, and the little microphone down in the bottom left-hand corner will unmute you. You can do that yourself anytime. And feel free to add in at any time. We want to follow our quick agenda. We try to keep these calls fairly brief and topical. So we'll dive into the agenda in just a second. Let's make sure we give each other ample time to respond to whatever the topic might be. So the agenda for the day, which you guys probably got when you registered, is business interruption coverage. This topic is changing very drastically all the time, but I wanted to make sure that we were kind of on the cusp of that and get everybody in the room talking about their experiences in that area. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about staying in business, or in other words, how is everybody pivoting and what are they doing differently, or how has their landscape changed? Meaning, if you're now changing the direction of your company to better suit our current situation, let's talk about what that looks like. It's good that we would all know what we're doing and our value propositions that we can all add. I mean, I know some people, a friend of mine, he actually had a vinyl printing company and just started making protective masks that go around people's faces with a clear shield. So that was a good pivot for him, and he's really helping the community. So next thing we want to talk about, and I'm hoping Lisa jumps on here too. Forget what bank she's working on. Lisa, you can speak up if you are here. But we want to talk about current economic relief opportunities. So what is the SBA doing for small business loans for all of our companies? And how do we gain access to those things? So we'll talk about that for a second. And then the last question that we're getting from all of our managers, all of our sites, and we really should know how to answer these things, or at least intelligently speak about them, is COVID-19 cleaning. What does that look like? What are some approximate costs? What are the different types of cleaning that we can do? And is there any coverage for those types of cleanings? We don't have answers for all those questions, but we're going to at least talk about it. All right. So jumping right into it. So business interruption coverage. first things first, just from an insurance standpoint, business interruption insurance coverage, as we're probably all aware, in a very simple nutshell, is basically if we have a covered cause of loss that triggers coverage, we have coverage for our income that we're losing based on that cause of loss. In this case, the existence of COVID-19 is not a trigger for coverage. So we aren't going to have business interruption coverage based on the existence of COVID-19, no matter how we try to spin it. If any of our insurance professionals on the phone want to chime in to what they're hearing most recently, feel free to right now.
Hearing identically the same. Backing up what Ryan is saying.
Yeah, it's it's tough. We're struggling to maintain our income, and there's just not an insurance product that's going to help us right now that we can figure out.
What happened with that bill? Did that not get passed?
So you're talking about the CARES Act?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't speak to business interruption coverage. Basically, what it talked about was everything but. I think that the problem is if they do say that COVID-19 is a trigger for coverage, it would essentially put the insurance carriers out of business. So there's too much pushback for that to go any further. I think there was talks of the Fed backing the carriers' coverage for these things. And Greg, I think we talked about this already on a previous call. But the talk was that the carriers would adjust all of these losses if the government were to say that this is a trigger for coverage, and the Fed would back up the claim dollars. That's just hearsay. I haven't seen that happen. If anybody else has any other information on that, that'd be good.
Yeah, the last thing I heard is I guess it was in the legislature as whether to kind of fill that gap in the exclusion of the policy. And like you said, I think the state was supposed to back any payments that were made from the carrier, but I thought it was kind of far-fetched to go back and write policies again and rewrite things. It would totally throw things out of whack as far as projections for the carrier, but I guess.
There has been some legislature sent to the state, but it's very unlikely that it'll be passed, specific to New Jersey regarding business income and interruption.
And Ryan, just to add to that, I think there's a very strong argument that it would be an unconstitutional bill in the first place if it were to pass, because you're changing the terms of a contract between parties and forcing them to provide that coverage that otherwise wouldn't exist. So I think it could just be a political move on the part of some to say, hey, we tried and this was our position and we did our best for you guys, knowing that it would never fully pass. But I just don't, from a legal perspective, I don't see it holding any real.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I'm hearing. And that's the kind of stuff we should be talking about. If anybody hears anything, let's circulate it. It's kind of what CAI is here for. So let's figure that out. Anybody else on insurance questions due to the virus causing them to have to close doors or reduced income or anything? Any other questions on that? Okay. All right, so then let's dive into the next topic. Yeah.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
So for all of the contractors that we are insuring at USI, what we're doing right now is reaching out and seeing if they want to lower premiums by, obviously they're rated on sales and, working payroll, and get that going with the insurance companies instead of, waiting for the next few months. So basically, if they see that the business is taking a downturn right now, let's reach out to say it's selective and get their payments, their monthly payments lower, just to help them in that aspect.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a great point, Kim. And from a workers' compensation perspective as well.
Yes.
Obviously, they're not employing as many people currently.
Because a lot of the contractors do the 20% down, and then they do 9 installments if they're with the standard market. So that will immediately start lowering their insurance monthly payment. Just wanted to throw that out there to the group.
Yeah. So and to clarify what Kim's saying right now, all of our business partners on the line right now realize that you can endorse your policies midterm. So basically, what she's saying is, call your broker, call your carrier, and basically say, hey, listen, I'm projecting less than what I originally projected at the inception of this policy, and make your changes. Find some relief anywhere you can. Make sense? Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention too. Let's take advantage, if you guys want, of the chat feature on the side, if you guys want to have any sidebar conversations. So if you just take your mouse, scroll down to the bottom of the screen, if you hover down there, the menu will pop up. There's a chat bubble right in the center. If you click the chat bubble, you'll be able to chat with either everyone, select a specific person you want to chat with, have a sidebar with. Also, if you hover over their box, their video, that same menu with the 3 dots in the top right-hand corner will open up the option to chat with them specifically. Just make sure that you're selecting the right person or you're chatting with everyone. All right, so the next topic is staying in business. So I know each of us is trying to pivot or change the way that we're doing business in order to best serve our communities and also just stay in business and find the revenues that we're losing. So let's talk about some of the ways we're pivoting to change the way we do business.
Anyone?
Everybody's business as usual?
I'm happy to chime in, guys. So I'm Sahar. I'm with Surf Pro of Howell and Wall. Obviously, we're an emergency service company. We are considered an essential business. However, we are making adjustments to our daily work routine. Sales reps are no longer going out on sales calls. They're not doing any drop-ins. It's all remote. It's all virtual. Our office is conducive for social distancing, so we are keeping a skeleton crew in the office, again, maintaining social distancing, taking proper care to disinfect every single day. And then as our production team, they are also disinfecting vehicles. We are taking multiple vehicles to locations. We are properly screening all of our calls right now to make sure that there is no COVID-19 patients in dwellings or in places of business. We're taking care on every visit. We're assuming there is COVID-19 at every job site, and we are wearing proper protective equipment for every job. Of course, one of our new service offerings, it's not really new. We're a general cleaning company. We also do a lot of emergency service work, but disinfecting. So a lot of people are calling, asking for disinfecting services. We are following CDC guidelines for cleaning, then disinfecting, also applying a fogging application. So I think we are moving and adjusting to this new life here, and trying to do what we can to keep everybody safe, but also to flatten the curve. Hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody else doing anything differently than business as usual?
Yeah, so, we're a law firm, so we still have our cases, that kind of don't go away right now. But what we're doing is, because we're not out at board meetings or court or depositions, we're taking a step back, reevaluating the files that we have. How are they going? How are the younger attorneys? Do they have enough work? And kind of like a reset almost on how we're doing things and trying to clean up some of the bad practices that we might have gotten into.
Greg, are the courts closed are they closed, the office is closed 100%, or is they just not doing?
So, yeah, they're closed as far as anything we do. They're open, I think, for emergency applications and things like maybe like domestic violence or that kind of stuff, like restraining orders. But as far as appearances or motions, they're doing them either on the phone or they're just kind of adjourning them and postponing them. So, yeah, that's New Jersey. In New York, they're shut down.
Yeah, and Greg, we actually were able to do a couple now that New Jersey's starting to do it in some of the counties, motions via Zoom. It probably depends on each individual judge though, and what they want to do moving forward. and their docket. You know, I do a lot of construction litigation, and they tend to be handled by one judge who has a lot of complex business litigation cases. So he might not be responsible for a lot of emergent matters and is able to continue with his docket the best he can. Though obviously if that judge, he or she, gets called into an emergent matter, they're going to always take that first. So their physical courthouses are closed to the public. Nobody can go in or out, but some cases are still able to proceed virtually. And, you know, we're trying to move cases along, but the judges are giving every case, you know, 60, 90-day extensions for all outstanding items for the most part, understanding nobody knows how long this is going to go. So it makes it difficult to participate in discovery and motions and depositions. It's definitely different environment.
Well, I'd like to jump in on that if you don't mind, Ryan.
Yeah, go ahead.
In my position when as a manufacturer, and also like my position doing business development, and I'm trying to help all the sales guys to keep their job, keep active, and I want to keep my job as well. So having taking the opportunity to use Zoom, for example, like for the longest time, the company was fairly reluctant on using virtual meetings to convey the value of our product. We have, you know, components that we make. We really kind of have to have it in your hand to really get it. But now that's really pushing, you know, both the marketing team to change their approach, to not say just rely on the quality of the product. We really have to push on marketing. So I see it as a huge positive that we can exploit for other avenues after the crisis is going to be over. And we've been able to, just in the past few days, been able to reach out to new markets and actually to other countries by just using connections, making good use of LinkedIn. Some maybe business partners are in engineering, and you might just be able to reach out to connections that you have by being a little creative and offering some things that the other guy is not offering. For us, so far, we're starting to see areas that we've never been working into, and we're looking forward to good rewards down the road.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, I can share an example that's not specifically mine, but a friend of mine has a marketing company, and he came up with a great idea, which was comical quarantine signs for people's homes that they can buy and just put up on the front door, which I thought was a great way to kind of lighten the mood. But he had called me up on one day just a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I think I just went out of business. He works in the trade show market. Steve, you know who I'm talking about. He works in the trade show market. So every single trade show was canceled. And he called me up. He said, I think I went out of business. So when we talked about it, I said, well, you've got the large format printing machines. Why don't you do something fun with that? And he came up with that idea. So there's different ways to kind of transition your business. And I think that us supporting each other and coming up with different ways to do that is great. Anybody else?
I'd like to jump in.
Yeah.
Basically going into a full crisis mode over the last couple of weeks. A lot of it had to base on numbers, what the care package is going to give us versus how many employees we can keep on, you know, versus the time frame. So we adapted ourselves according to length of time, and it just seems like every time we turn around, that they're just watering down the process a little bit more each time. So this is something, you know, if you're trying to project finances coming through the government, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So what we did was we laid off probably 25% of our workforce, with people who have families, elderly people at home that could be a risk of bringing the virus into their home. So we kind of did it that way. We are right now, we're involved in doing some municipal buildings in South River, doing air duct cleaning and sanitizing. So a couple of people have tested positive in some of these buildings, and we're going in and cleaning the air ducts after they've been disinfected. So basically, everything that we did was adjusted towards, you know, what they're saying is 8 weeks. Realistically, I'm going out 12 to 16 weeks. The help that they're giving us is going to be somewhat helpful. And it's, you know, I recommend to everybody, go after everything you possibly can as a business owner on all the different websites, whether it be SBA. I also want to thank Lisa for sending that link. That was very helpful because I deal with 2 banks, Bank of America and TD Bank, and neither one of them are up to game yet. So, you know, basically what we did was everything was an equation at this point. Am I confident my business will be back? Yes, I am. I think everything's just going to be pushed off. However, you know, we have to plan for the worst, and we went into crisis mode, and basically that's it. We're going to keep everything according to what the finances are going to tell us.
Right. So that SBA, I mean, that was the next topic we're going to talk about anyway. So let's just dive right into it. If you guys take a look at the chat bar right on the right-hand side, you're going to see a lot of links that are up there that's going to give you the information for the SBA loan that Tom was talking about. Julie put up a good link there too. So I don't want to speak out of turn. Do we have anybody from any bank on the line today? I think you're muted, Jess.
Oh, sorry.
There you are.
So I'm from National Cooperative Bank. So we are a preferred SBA lender. We are still waiting for the final guidelines to come out about the new payroll protection plan. They were supposed to be out yesterday, so we're hoping to get everything today. And then all the applications will have to be updated because they're supposed to be able to submit applications as of today. So once we have that final information, so everybody, I think, is just in a holding pattern until we get that information. So as of yesterday, condominium associations and co-ops, we weren't sure if they were going to be able to apply through that program. I don't know if Martin had if he had any additional information. I know we were on a call talking about it yesterday too.
Apologies, I was interrupted by first my children and then my work. You guys are talking about the loans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which aspect are we talking about? My apologies.
We were still, as of yesterday, condos and co-ops haven't been confirmed if they would be able to apply for the program. So I think the SBA is coming out with their final guidelines today. It's supposed to be yesterday, but we're still waiting. I haven't heard anything from the executives at my bank that are handling it.
This is for the paycheck protection program you're
Exactly.
talking about. Yeah, no, yep. My interpretation of reading it is that they would not qualify.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a 501(c)(3),
which they are not. Yeah. And I know Mohammed was on another call where he was talking about this too. And then the alternative would be if they were a for-profit, but they're also not that. So I don't think they would qualify. There are some emergency loans they might qualify for, is my understanding, under the bill, but certainly not the PPP loan, unless they come out and clarify it otherwise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with that. Let's try to keep each other informed on what options community associations have. Wasn't there a recent, and again, this is probably a question for the attorneys, wasn't there a recent decision maybe yesterday regarding the inability to collect on delinquent unit owners?
So in New Jersey, I'm not aware of anything other than the moratorium on foreclosures. You can still take actions to protect your lien. You could still start the collection process, but you would not be able to foreclose or evict anyone. So if you're in a landlord-tenant situation, you would not be able to evict somebody who had a tenant in their unit and they were renting out. Sorry, hold on. That's the latest in New Jersey. I haven't heard anything further than that. I know that there has been some push, both federal and state level. Again, doesn't really have bipartisan support though, with regards to consumer debt generally, which obviously would really affect everyone involved in our business, putting a moratorium on the collection of consumer debt generally, which would include condominium association fees. Again, it doesn't really have much bipartisan support, so I don't see that as practically something that would pass. But it's certainly being discussed, and there have been bills proposed, some amendments to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act that have been proposed. And again, they mostly just don't have any bipartisan support. Typically when a bill has a good chance at passing, or even any desire at passing, they reach across the aisle and try to get a co-sponsor. And none of these types of bills have that, which to me, kind of reading between the lines, says they're more of a political play than any real reality of coming to fruition.
Okay. All right. So what I was thinking about is I'm going to put in the chat a little statement within an email that's forever long. But this is kind of what I was talking about, and I don't want to dive into it because it's not really my area. So take a look at it then, Martin, and see if that's what you're talking about.
Sure. I know the other thing was the emergency loans, and I don't know enough about it yet, but I can send around something that I received that looks like it would be something that community associations may be eligible for. So Ryan, I'll send that to you, and you can shoot it around to whoever.
Right. So
it's just a pamphlet that was put out by the Chamber of Commerce. So
yeah, and I do have a little bit of experience with that. So I walked through one of those applications all the way to fruition, and that's that $10,000 immediate fund loan you're talking about, right?
No, let me see. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. So with that, from my understanding, and I went through the application process, was there's a quick and easy $10,000 for small businesses available. Again, I think that you need to have employees, so it's not for sole proprietors. So as long as you have some employees and you showed a profit over a period of time, which was, I think it was January of last year to February of this year. They take that time period and they look at the profit, the number of employees, and I think you have access to $10,000. Every little bit helps for small companies. The question would be, in that case, can an association file for that loan as well? It is going to be forgiven, so it's kind of like a free 10 grand. And I think the point is to try to get a couple of dollars in people's pockets and stimulate the economy.
Yeah, my guess is on that one though, they would have to have employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard about that. Isn't that the one that you had to commit to not laying anyone off, though? Isn't that?
That's the PPP.
That would be the
PPP.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right.
It was a very simple application process when I kind of walked through it to educate myself. So I will try to find where that is, and I'll put that link up. Unless Martin, you said you were going to put that link up. Oh, you did. Okay. Wherever it is. Okay.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Have any of your clients filed for unemployment? Normally the businesses weren't able to prior to this. Now they're able to file for unemployment, the self-owned. Has anybody seen how quickly that is going for them?
I didn't have one of my, I didn't have one of my clients, but one of my friends did, and it's taking her a very long time to get things. She applied probably around St. Patrick's Day, and she still hasn't gotten anything.
Okay, so that's because that's a question I'm also getting. Thank you.
All right. So at the end of the day, I think what we can see is that there are some financial help for small businesses that are kind of surfacing. We don't really understand exactly how it all works yet, but I think at the end of the day, getting in applications every which way we can to try to see how we can take advantage of this stimulus that the government's throwing at us. I think that's an important step to take. So of course, let's share the information as much as we can. We really just want to keep this group informing each other.
So just let me just jump in real quick. I filed for the small business emergency loan. All right, that's a loan for operating expenses. So once I filed that loan, about 3 days later, it came up and said, go to this link and fill out this new form that's updated that will allow my company to get a $10,000 grant, whether or not I am accepted for the loan or not. So, like you said, it was just, there's a process for a small business that you have to take place. You got to go to the SBA, fill out the emergency application, and then after you fill that out, they'll redirect you to fill out another one that's real short, and that'll allow you to get the $10,000 within 3 days of you filling out the short form.
Let me see. I think I might have. This. I'll look for it as we keep going, and I'll post it up in the group chat. So the last topic that we want to dive into real quick, and I think it's a super important topic for us to educate our insureds about, our boards, our management companies, is COVID-19 cleaning, what to expect and how to stay ahead of the curve. I see that we have a few cleaning companies on the line. I know, Julie, you guys have been diving in head first. Sahar, you've been diving in head first as well. So let's talk a little bit about that, what that looks like.
Okay, you want me to take the lead on that?
Shoot.
Brian, start on it anyway? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to send a link out now on the RIA and the IICRC put together a report for restoration contractors. It's a preliminary report. It's not something they typically do. Hygienists and environmentalists will send out reports like this, but obviously it was needed. So it's giving restoration contractors a protocol to follow. I just put up the link there. Anyone can check it out. We are, definitely getting more calls every day. We are adapting to the changes with the technology and learning more about this virus. A few of the questions that we've been getting from our clients are on their contents. So contents could be anything from, a couch, chairs, fabric chairs in their offices. You got water coolers, you have, staplers. How are we effectively cleaning those items and those porous items that people are concerned about as well? Right now they're saying cardboard can hold the virus up to 24 hours, plastic and steel up to 72 hours, which equates to 2 to 3 days. And, they've obviously found that virus to be active on that cruise ship there for up to 17 days. I got that information from the New England Journal of Medicine. So people are worried. Do we throw away our chairs? How do we clean them? The idea is don't start, moving these contents out of the space. You don't want to cross-contaminate. If there is a concern about cleaning these types of porous fabrics, they can be done on site. I don't recommend anyone that's not done it before in business to start doing it now. That could be a little bit, dangerous, obviously. Our staff is, like I said, we're getting more calls on a daily. Today, I'm doing several work vehicles for a landscaping company who had 2 employees that have the virus. We have been affected as a company. I have placed an ad for hiring because some of our older high-risk staff, or we have situations like we have guys that, take care of their elderly parents and that are concerned. So we've lost some employees because of this. We are set up as a restoration company, and restoration companies are perfect companies to be doing these types of cleanups because we already handle these biohazard blood pathogens, expired bodies left in apartments, cleaning these types of things. So we are set up properly, but it is also new to us because this virus is so contagious and people can be exposed, and you can expose up to 2 to 3 people and not see anything for 5 days. So we're learning as we're going through this and we're adapting to it. But I think if any of you are getting questions or have these questions yourselves about cleaning your own office space or spaces, it's important to compare apples to apples. So if you're going out and you're getting several proposals from restoration companies, look and see how they're cleaning. There's a couple of different ways to clean. There's a couple of different things that you're gonna see out there right now. Some people are using the thermal fogging, which will disperse the cleaning disinfectant out onto the surfaces. Make sure that if this is something that's being done in your offices or homes, that your vents are covered up. This also tends to leave a residue on everything. The other thing that people are using, which is very similar to the thermal fogging, it's just a different delivery system, is the electrostatic. So we're doing a couple of different options for our clients. We have warehouses where we are treating, we are doing the thermal fogging. As far as pricing, the thermal fogging and the electric static is going to probably be less, you'll find, because it's something that's, they're dropping it and they're walking away. You can re-enter the space after about 4 hours because it sits in the air. And then we're wiping the high touch. I'm sorry, 1 second. I'm sorry, my son is banging at my door here. 1 sec.
Work from home problems.
I hope you guys didn't hear that. He's like, I can't find my folder. I'm like, just go look for it. So, so there's a couple different ways that you're probably going to see the fogging, the thermal fogging and the electric static. Typically, we're seeing pricing between like 15 cents and 50 cents per square foot. They're wiping down the high touch surface areas after the fogging or the electric static. That tends to be, a less expensive route to go. Maybe in a space where you don't have a lot of people occupying it, like a warehouse, that might be the way to go. We are also offering a detailed cleaning. We use a BioSkew disinfectant cleaner. What we do is we wipe and flatten up all of the walls, all the high touch areas, door handles, chairs, tables, elevator cabs, in and out. I can't right now. I'm on call. Thank you. We also are including cleaning the carpets, so the porous areas. So if you've got soft fabric, say chairs in your office, drapes, carpets, what we're doing is we're spraying the cleaning disinfectant, the BioSkew, and then we're coming in and we're cleaning with a hot, our carpet cleaners with a hot water. That we're charging typically 50 cents a square foot. So, but you'll see, a different range. It could be 40 cents to $1. So just make sure that your clients or yourselves are just looking at what you're getting for that service. Ask the right questions. Make sure you're covering all your bases. Make sure that your restoration or remediation company or cleaning company, whoever you're using, is certified. IICRC certified is important. All of their employees are OSHA certified and trained. Make sure you get your certificate of insurance from the company. So that's what we're typically doing as far as the cleaning and the disinfecting. If anybody has any questions on that, you know, I'm here to answer anything you need for that.
Okay, so you know, I think that educates all of us when we're getting the questions from our communities and our managers. What do I do? I have well, I've also heard, and Sahar, you actually went over this on a previous call. There's 3 different types of cleanings that we're talking about here. One is proactive, so we have no exposure or no known exposure. One is presumptive, saying we think we had exposure, so we're going to clean. And the other one is confirmed. And confirmed is, hey, listen, I've got a confirmed case in there, and now we really have to clean. So the 3 different types of cleanings, those are the questions that we're going to get from our managers and our boards. So let's make sure that we're educated to say, hey, listen, this is how it works. It's a per square foot cost. As you're hearing, that's how it works. And there's different types of cleanings, fogging or all of the touch points.
Right.
I'm really oversimplifying, but at the end of the day, you know, nobody wants to pretend they're an expert, so they want to point them in the right direction, give them some basics. Also, talking about the next question in that vein is, okay, we've got this cleaning that happened and it cost X amount of dollars. Who's going to pay that bill? Can someone else pay the bill? So the next question is there insurance for that? So the jury is still out on that. I was hoping to have an answer by last week, but I don't yet have an answer. The fact is a proactive cleaning will not be covered by insurance. A presumptive cleaning will not be covered by insurance, but a confirmed case cleaning could potentially be covered by insurance. If there is a pollution policy in place, also called environmental impairment liability policy in place, that carrier, depending on the carrier, could potentially have coverage. We have a couple of claims right now that have been put in about 2 weeks ago, and I think the carriers are just not yet sure about what they want to say as far as whether they're covering it or not. So we need to wait for their formal opinions, and we'll see. But there could potentially be coverage in the pollution or EIL coverage or EIL policies for a confirmed case cleanup.
Hey, Ryan, in any event, submit a claim.
Yes, yes.
This way you're in line earlier.
For sure, yeah. And again, confirmed cases.
Got it.
You know, not the other 2, but yes, definitely submit the claim.
Yeah,
Ryan, the other thing, oh, sorry.
That's right. I was just going to say, I've had an association that had a confirmed case and they put the claim through, but they're nervous about its impact on the premiums. So it's kind of a cost benefit analysis.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second. So our pollution policies or the EIL policies are extremely inexpensive. I say that right now, but we didn't see if these policies start to pay for these cleanups, I can assure you that pollution policies next year will not be inexpensive. But right now they're so inexpensive, and they're standalone policies in most cases. If they're not a standalone policy, they're kind of endorsed onto a package policy, but still underwritten by a different carrier. So those claims are paid out of a different bucket, or a bucket that's much, much smaller. So if the EIL policy, let's use a number like, let's say it's a $500 policy. You've got a decent amount of coverage there, sometimes up to $500,000, maybe $1 million worth of coverage there. So if the policy does cover these claims and you've got $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 worth of coverage on a claim, who cares if that policy goes up 100%? It's a $500 policy. So I don't think that they should really sit there and try to be penny wise, pound foolish. I say put the claim in. I think Julie and Sahar, you guys know how big these bills can get.
Absolutely. So Ryan, the other thing, as far as staying ahead of the curve, what we are also finding is, you know, a lot of people were proactive in shutting down their clubhouses, their gyms, and they are signing contracts to clean before they get ready to open. So I think we're going to see a real flood in service at that time. So what we're trying to do is anyone that pre-books with us, they will get, you know, the preference on the schedule. So that's another thing to kind of stay ahead of the curve as far as getting those lined up so you're not flooded with all of them at one time.
Sounds to me like a
Everyone's gonna want
discount.
it, you know.
All right. Well, anybody else on the cleanup topic?
This is Deb Rizzi from Risco. Just from a marketing standpoint, to build upon that, Julie, since you see a really big opportunity, the New York Times confirmed this, and we're seeing this on our side of the business as well, is people are spending a lot of time on Facebook. And so from a hiring perspective and also from a marketing perspective for small businesses, if you have anybody internally that's able to run ads through social media, the traffic from Facebook over to websites has gone up incrementally by 50% since we've been stuck at home. So that opportunity to put your brand out there, and also from a hiring perspective, a small spend of $50 to $100 on ads through social media will go a long way for the business.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
On that, we learned something just through asking a provider to come out and give us a quote on power washing our home, of using technology. Like, this is the best practice that we learned that I think all of us could probably embrace from a safety perspective. You're gathering the cell phone number of that end user before you're going on their property. They quickly did a self video saying, hey, you know, I'm coming onto your property. This is my name. I want you to feel secure. Did a little bit of a promo about the business and sent it off to us. So when he arrived to the property, we knew exactly who was coming. We felt comfortable already. So I hope that's something beneficial that I can share with all of you if you have people out in the field, that they can use smart technology to the best of their ability to make people feel safe and comfortable during the process.
That's a great idea. Great idea.
All right. Well, either way, I think we're coming up on our hour. I think that we can understand, if you look at our chat function right down the right-hand side, we've got some pretty important links in there, from small business loan stuff to the grant that we talked about. I think, you know, Julie, if you want to put together a one-pager for us as to expectations or something like that, we can share it with the group. That'd be awesome as well. Get the word out. You know, if anybody has any other suggestions for what we should do next week, let's keep them nice and short like we're keeping it here, and stick to our agenda. Next week, we were going to talk about virtual meetings and the pitfalls therein. So let's come with some real thoughts about what that looks like, staying away from the problems with our cyber threats, whatever that might be, and we can talk about that amongst other things. So feel free to shoot Angela over some topics. We'll do this weekly until it doesn't make sense to do it, but as of right now, I think we're getting some good information together. So thanks everybody for showing up.
And also, I'll be sharing the contact list so everyone have everyone's email as well. And I'll put together all the links on that. So if you have anything else to share, email them to me, and then I'll shoot them out to the whole group.
Sound good?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
Thanks again.
Everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.
Bye.